people deluded I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. Come on. Thank you very much for that, Ian. Right, I could take it from here. As the Arsenal legend just said there, people deluded, I'm back again. Happy Friday, folks. Big up to you lot that are not only tuned in now, but some of you that are following over from obviously the video I did with Dan Potts. Again, make sure you're smashing the like button, you're turning on your notification bells. One love to you lot on Twitch. Don't forget to get in the chat, participate, smash the like button. And also, please make sure you're following on the audio platforms, man. Spotify, all of that. Spotify, TikTok, every damn thing. Make sure you're following people, man. We're trying to get to 70k and beyond now. Mikel Arteta is just giving his press conference. I'm sure he's been asked about Zubimendi, about any potential transfers. Obviously, we're happy that we won the North London derby. Prior to that, the fixtures weren't really giving us the results we wanted, to put it nicely. And we all know tomorrow it's exaggerating calling Emre our arch nemesis in it, but since he's obviously had history with Arsenal and he's left us, he's just tried to spoil our day. Aston Villa are a great team in great form with a great manager and a great bunch of players. They're not going to make it easy for us at the Emirates. And realistically, we're still in the League Cup technically until we play the second leg. I don't know where you're on that. I personally think we're out. So that just leaves the Prem and the Champions League. For me, I've described the Premier League as improbable, the Champions League as impossible. For me, I want to be wrong. Why wouldn't I not? Premier League, Champions League, that's what we're in it for, and that's all we can do. Again, I don't think we're going to win any of those, but I want the boys to not believe that, and I want them to prove me wrong, really, because that's all we have. As long as there's a small percentage in this life that we can do that, go out there and do such, people. It's pretty self-explanatory, man. So yeah, smash the like button. There's no point delaying. We might as well crack on with stuff, really, and see exactly what the gaffer has had to say in his press conference, man. I actually timed this live stream perfectly, I feel. Firstly, he was asked about, what's he been asked about here? Mikel Arteta on if Arsenal can challenge for a title without signings this month. At the moment, we don't have them. We are actively trying to find the best possible solution, but we'll have to wait and see what we can do. Now, it feels like Mikel Arteta has reverted back to the PR answers. You heard, again, you can't get 2 + 2 = 4. It doesn't equal 10, innit? But I feel Mikel Arteta gave the typical managerial reply 9 times out of 10. And I feel this week, he's still done that, but he's been a lot more specific. Like, we're trying to do something in the market. We need it, etc. Declan Rice, I'm probably reaching with this, but for me, when Declan Rice made those comments about Tierney playing left wing, we're kind of short, it confirmed what us fans know. Like, for me, I feel even with signings, even with a fit squad, like I'd still feel the same way about major honours, but I don't think it's sustainable. We've got a small squad. This assumes nobody gets injured. Obviously, there's a lack of quality in the front line. While I think every Arsenal fan would say there was a bit more freedom in our attacking play again in the North London derby. We're obviously happy we won, happy we got the 3 points, somewhat capitalised on one of the rare occasions Liverpool dropped points, right? I still think we need signings, and I think when you get beyond that, many fans were quite, I know Trossard scored, but many people are quite critical of his overall performance. The same would say for Raheem Sterling, and the same would be said for Kai Havertz. And on the face of it, I think in isolation, none of them are bad players. Obviously, they've got question marks, but none of them are bad players. But I can't say it fills me as an Arsenal fan with any real confidence with them lot leading the line. Obviously, there's rumours that Benjamin White's back in training. I don't know if the Aston Villa games come too quickly. I don't know when he's back in when he's been back in training. We need to get things done. You know, I'm happy if this Zubimendi thing happens in the summer and Sesko in the summer. I'm happy with all of that. But that's all 2025-26 season. We have to deal with what's in front of us. We're in January. I always say this. The summer is great. The summer is amazing. You know, carnival, all of that. Right now it's January, and we have to attempt to at least make a serious attempt at salvaging our season. As I said, I think we've got a tiny percentage of winning the Premier League champs, but there's still a possibility in life. You have to go with it. And yeah, for me, I always talk about the summer market, etc. We're at where we're at now, rightly or wrongly, whether we've done some good or made some mistakes. We're at where we're at. What we do beyond this point, it's down to the boys. Because as much as I'm an Arsenal fan, it will hurt me. You lot are players. Some of you will go on and leave Arsenal and go play for Real Madrid and all of them teams and win trophies. Some of you have won trophies in your previous playing careers elsewhere, but you haven't collectively achieved nothing. I know a couple men have been in the FA Cup. We're here when we won the FA Cup, but Kyle Saka was even on the bench. Some of you will never be in a situation like this, and it can't be nice training day in, day out, going from pre-season all the way to May and ultimately finish short, because some of you are doing that for club and country. You know, I'm sure Saliba was in the French squad when they lost the last World Cup. Saka's obviously lost 2 Euros now and come up second best in the Premier League. And there's many other examples of that, really. So, yeah, and I just feel as a club, on and off the field, I don't feel we could honestly say we've maximized all the controllables we can do. And I don't feel I didn't leave that summer market with any real confidence. You know, you're kind of assuming or hope better yet, I wouldn't say assuming, you're hoping that Kai Havertz's form continues. You have a clean run with injury. Saka doesn't get injured. Like, we know how the injury story goes. We've been seeing it. So I do think to a degree, some variables can't be blamed at the club. But I do feel where it's injuries, where it's lack of quality, where we're at with the talking points at this moment in time, it's like knowing it's going to rain, going outside, standing out there. And then when it does rain, complaining you haven't got an umbrella, you didn't look at the weather forecast, or having a jacket. Like, at some point, you need to take accountability and whatnot. And we're actually a decent team now for me anyways. Like, I know we're not getting over the line, but there's a good base of players. I do think there's statistics, whether it's open play, whether it's dropping points from winning positions, and those kind of fine margins you could look at and say are need for improvement. But there are, whether it's clean sheets, whether it's not really lost at home, best team of 2024. I don't really care about those things in isolation. I'm just saying it shows that there's a decent base. Like, we're not as terrible as we think we are. We still maintained a lot of these same talking points, but we're better. So for me, it's a missed opportunity, man, because I won't lie, not so much the owners, but what I've seen the players do for the best part of 2 years, 3 if you include now, not so much this season. Mikel Arteta, I personally think people don't need to lie. I think you can question if he's the guy to get us over the line and all of that. But I don't think because you believe that you need to lie and say my man's not a good manager, etc. He's clearly a good coach. He's clearly done well for our team. Whether he can get us over the line is the big question. And that's the only question for me. The rebuild, all those kind of things, you done your thing, Arteta. But now in the last 2 years, excluding this year for a sec, and actually include it now 3 years, is can you get over the line? Can you get me some trophies? I know trophies ain't everything, but I want to win trophies. Like, it's nice, really. And there's nothing I can say that goes against the players. Mikel Arteta, the players, they all say they want silverware. So for some fans that try and say, oh, you're not an Arsenal fan if you only want to win trophies, come on now, stop the idiot thing. Because we don't do that on this platform. I always say, I don't tell you what to think, just think. You can be as optimistic as you want. You can be as negative on this platform as you want. You can believe Arteta is the best thing since sliced bread. You can believe he's the worst thing since whatever. As long as you're coming with balance and some reasons, and that's why you're with that. Because I must admit, there's many a time, kind of carrying on the theme with Dan Potts, I sit here and I believe one thing, you lot come and say one thing, and I'm like, you know what? Because I don't know everything. People make good points. I'm like, right, you know what? That's actually a very good point. So it is what it is. Dermot, appreciate you. P1 love, because you was in this live stream with Dan Potts. I ain't against the idea of signing a wonder kid if we're actually going to use him in midfield, but I want a forward player. Last sentence, as you said there, I want a forward player as well. And I might be being a bit greedy, yeah, because from what I see of this Norwegian lad, obviously you look quite creative. It seems like Arsenal, Chelsea, Man United, AC Milan, in particular Leipzig and Borussia Dortmund are looking at him. These guys get these players, train them up and sell them to clubs like Arsenal at a premium. I'm all for that. Now, I might be being a bit greedy, and I know you can't have everything, but I feel on one hand, get these development signings, etc. But you also need players that can hit the ground running now, because my man's 17, 18. He's going to have to learn and develop and all of that. I do want to see Mikel Arteta find more creative solutions on the pitch. And this is going to sound stupid because everybody's got roles in that team. Obviously, we know, inverted fullbacks, their primary job is to defend, but they've got to help, strikers have to defend, ball playing defenders have to attack. We know all of that stuff, but primary jobs, I hear it. Martin Odegaard is the creative guy. But for me, I find it very, I don't know the word, but I just feel it's like, if creativity, if you was about to do a deadlift, yeah, and the weights would be creativity, you pull it all on the shoulders of Odegaard, in which he should be able to squat that, pause. But if we're living or dying by Martin Odegaard being the creative outlet, maybe for me, I just think that's poor maths. Because what if he's not the guy? I think we need other creative solutions in terms of training, and I think we need other players. Big up Ethan, stepping up, doing what he's doing. But beyond Martin Odegaard, there's not really another 8.5, 10 that can do a thing. We're not really finding creative solutions elsewhere. At a push, there was a point where, mainly I'd say Zinchenko's debut season, where he's doing his inverted left back creative thing. You've got Odegaard, and you kind of got two, but maybe I'm wrong. It does look like a summer deal, really. But then I wonder what we got a lot to do, First thing, I think no one's speaking about it. Gabriel, Magalhaes, Saliba, Bukayo Saka all got 2 years left on their deals. We need to start negotiations for that. Obviously, whether it's a striker, getting Zubamendi over the line, a winger, probably need to sort out the goalkeeping situation. I actually think we could do with another defender. Obviously, we need to bring in players. So that's new contracts, that's bringing in players. And we need to sell players as well. Obviously, you can't say Partey isn't gonna stay, but you'd imagine Jorginho, Partey, Tierney, that's a lot of wages off the wage bill, rightly or wrongly. Zinchenko's linked with Dortmund. He's got 2 years left. Gabriel Jesus, obviously with his ACL, that's an issue that he can't be sold now. But it's one thing these players, Kivior, there's many players that could be sold. It's one thing saying sell these players. It's another thing, Arsenal being offered anything from teams, because Jesus and Partey have been available. No one's raised up any offers. And then B, offers that actually Arsenal are going to go for, really. And that's before we speak about Reece Nelson, who's on 100 bags a week, Fabio Vieira. You know, I do think we need to clean rank and distribute the resources elsewhere, man. So there's a lot to do. So it's like, is stability for football teams really an illusion? Because you could argue we've got stability. Arteta signed a new deal. The vast majority of the main players have been here for a while and will be here, God willing, for a while. But then, as I said, contracts need to be sorted out. Decisions need to be made. I don't necessarily believe this, but I understand if people are saying, you know what, why did you sign Calafiori? You know, why didn't you go for other pressing areas? Hindsight's a wonderful thing. Obviously, MLS, Lewis Skelly's come up to the fore. I think if we signed Zubamendi last summer as well as Moreno, people would look at Moreno differently. But you needed a game changer in midfield and you've gone for a squad kind of player. Obviously, many people have a lot to say about Declan Rice in the 8. This is what I mean by sometimes I personally think as a club, we are guilty of inventing our own issues, man. Smash the like button if you haven't, people. Come on. And don't forget, tomorrow we will be doing a watch along for Arsenal Aston Villa. So, yeah, apparently, when asked what profile are you looking for in the forward you want to bring in, obviously, it's not something I'm going to discuss here. We have lost 2 massive players in the front line. We need some support there. How specific can Arteta get? He's never been that. I like Rice as an 8. I'm not as, Toby, big up yourself because you're always here. I'm not as critical on Declan Rice as an 8 as some people, because I think he's made a good go of it. I do think we get too hung up on 8s and 6s. You know, the 6 who's on paper going to be the deepest. At times, he's going to be further forward and vice versa with the 8. I think Rice is doing his thing with that regards. But at the same time, I do look at Declan Rice. I love him. But, you know, you got bought for 100 million. You was West Ham captain, X amount of England caps and Premier League caps off the back of being a box-to-box ball-winning midfielder. How much blood from a stone are you going to draw out of Declan Rice? As I said, if you can make him more a complete player, do your thing. I'm here for that, because even if he was playing in the 6, the way you're going to play 6 at Arsenal is going to be, with the greatest of respect, be very different to West Ham. But you're not Lampard, you're not Gerrard, you're not Frank, you're not Michael Carrick. Like, how good is he going to be in that role? I do think Rice as an 8 is here to stay if that Zubamendi thing happens. Although my dream would be you'd have Odegaard and Rice as rotated 8s, and then maybe Zubamendi as the lone 6, because that's one thing I like about Zubamendi. Can play as a lone 6, but different options, man. Like, just different options. And I'm happy with Rice. I think people do too much around Declan Rice, but it is what it is. Big up, bro. Keep rocking and being level-headed with the Arsenal. Appreciate that, my dude. One love, man. DG moving like a manager, Wagwan with the hand signs. I just talk with my hands, man. Apologies. Do you know what, though? They do say that's a sign of honesty in someone and trustworthiness. Sorry, man. Must be the ADHD. Apologies. You lot are onto me, man. Today, someone's getting at me for my hand movement. Before, when I was doing a video with Jess, someone was getting onto my posture. You know what? If you hold me to high standards, I'm doing it again. If you hold me to high standards, you hold me to high standards. I guess I'm fidgeting. It's difficult, man. Do you know what? You're a bad guy because you throw me off. Until you said that, I weren't really aware. So that's when you lot are tuning in, week out, day in, day out, which one love. That's what you lot are seeing. Apologies, man. I'll try, even though I have to use my hand to use the mouse, if that's okay with you, K. Big up the mods. You're a mod and you're treating me like that. But yeah, I mean, Arteta's going to be a Bitcoin. Now, I think where we look at what Arteta demands from a striker, I'd like to think the next striker coming in is a man that's going to get you 15, 20, maybe more goals. But also, you know, you need to be able to drop into midfield. You need to work out wide. You need to do all of that modern striker stuff. That's really what all teams have, really and truly, bar the exception of a Haaland. And Haaland's never going to be the sexiest footballer to watch, but even his general plays kind of changed. So we can assume what it is, because obviously Gabriel Jesus and Kai Havertz are very different, but they kind of do those kind of things. They're almost like workhorses. I always describe right now as a striker at Arsenal, don't get twisted. They've had chances that they should have put the ball in the back of the net, but it feels like as a striker, you're a sacrificial lamb, if that makes sense. Martinelli's hardly scoring goals, but he does get his fair amount of clear-cut chances generally, right? Bukayo Saka's our bread and butter. It feels like the lack of clinical forwards we have at the club, the one couple times they're in the box, they're not bagging, but you're not necessarily in the box to score goals. You're here, there, and everywhere. A man said, DG, what phase is the beard in? Joke. Stop looking, I'm babyface killer. Allow me, man. I don't know, man. Like, whatever you think Arsenal's phase is at the moment with winning the trophy, add 2 more years on that. I'm 30 in April, man. I remember sitting there in 2009 and 09, like, yeah, 2012, I'm going to have sideburns. It didn't happen, but, God makes you in his image. He's made me a sexy demon. In fact, furthermore, if there's any brandings, any galley watching, no haircut, but let's remove that for a second. The vibes. Shout me, single and therefore ready to mingle, ready to read up something, but I'm being stupid. You see, you're encouraging foolishness, man. Who was our last clinical striker, in your opinion? Aubameyang, innit? And even that, it was a striker / left winger thing. Aubameyang, really, innit? Like, to be fair, during the Emirates era, we ain't really had bagsmen like that. I don't know how much. Defo Van Persie must have had 1-2 seasons where he's there. Adebayo must have had 1-2 seasons. I've said Aubameyang. And Alexis Sanchez, give or take. I'm kind of cheating, but he had a year where he was false 9. I don't need to gas myself. Sexiest YouTuber on this space. Let's never do the capping thing. Let's never do the capping. I'm definitely the sexiest Arsenal content creator. What are the galley gonna say? Robbie, big up Robbie, but I'm even mad. Or Julian and that. You're going crazy. Or Curtis Shaw, the K-Bros. Like, fam. Big up all of them. So I'd say that. We have to forget about Isaac. I heard rumors Newcastle want £200 million even in the summer. We have to move and get Gyökeres. We need a lot of dominoes to fall for us to get Isaac. Newcastle would have to sell him for whatever reason, or I want to sell him. Isaac would have to burn bridges. And Arsenal would have to be prepared to give him whatever wages and whatever transfer fee, where we've seen 90, 100, 120, 150. You're saying 200. Isaac's a pipe dream. It's gone, in it. I hope I'm wrong, because that would be my first choice. I think Sesko is probably the one, or maybe a Sesko kind of striker ready to emerge into that space, not really going to break the bank. I like Gyökeres. I don't feel the club are that keen on Gyökeres, if I'm honest. Now, I don't work for Arsenal. I don't know. It just feels like, at least with Isaac, the Ornsteins, these kind of guys, they keep saying Isaac is favoured by Arteta. They like him. We know there's legs to the Sesko thing. We tried to go and get him. Gyökeres, you don't really hear that. Yeah, there's tabloid talk and that, but I feel the club probably did scout him, probably do like him. I just don't think he's up there. And even that, like, cool. We hope we're wrong, but you don't get Isco. Isco. You don't get Isaac. You don't get Sesko. Who do you go for? Because Gyökeres, I've just explained that. Vlahovic, obviously, you was linked with us before. You earn a decent salary at Juventus. You don't look like you're going to sign a new deal there. We need a forward, so maybe that's why he's being linked with our football club. But I must admit, with Vlahovic, and maybe Arteta changed what he wanted, but, if you go back to 2022, obviously we tried to get Vlahovic. That never happened. We ultimately got Gabriel Jesus. They have 2 different strikers. I remember Charles Watts came out around that period and said we spoke, well, or better yet, Osimhen's agent was at London Coley. So it is a bit clouded. And then when you look at what Mikel Arteta wants, again, you want goals, innit? We all want goals from our next striker. In an ideal world, Arteta gets someone that, runs into the channels, makes late runs, presses from the front, drops in midfield and gets goals, right? But then I look at Vlahovic. Does he really do that? Like, he ain't got the best of, I like him, but he ain't got the best of first touch. General play is a bit horrible. Fair enough, if he could get us 15, 20 goals, great. But you also got to affect the game when you're not necessarily scoring. And I just don't think he's like that. And I remember the last international break, he was talking to the Serbian media, because a bit of how Thiago Motta deploys his striker is kind of what Arteta is doing, right? And he was saying, like, playing for Serbia is not better, and I'm paraphrasing, but he was touching on why the role was different. And he said something along the lines of, the Serbian manager just lets me stay in the box. Juventus, I have to kind of drop deep. So is he really the answer then? Now, Arteta did want him once upon a time, but has Arteta even changed what he wanted in the striker? I don't know, people. So we'll have to see, man. He's going back to back on the shows. Yes, I am, man. And then I think I'm with Rants at 3:30. So, yeah, man, Mikel Arteta is not going to shed too much light on that. On the Zuba Mendy and midfield reshape for next season, we have I think that's meant to say we have some situations with contracts expiring. We have to be prepared. So does that really rule out? Do you not think there's no chance of Jorginho and or Partey signing a new deal? And which one would you give it to? Because you could make a case of you've obviously got Moreno, you've got Rice, assuming you got Zubimendi. Maybe you keep Partey for another year. You have got Lewis Skelly, and then you have the option of Kai Havertz. And now that I think about that, they're all different, but they probably do both leave, because then you got Kai Havertz. Lewis Skelly could be an option there. Obviously, Moreno, Declan Rice, and Zubimendi. And what I would say, Mikel Arteta, I think you've done a lot of good. I think the defense, in terms of options, couple man can leave, but you've done your thing. Midfield, I need more. I need answers now, because we spent a lot of money now. I need to see a consistent partner for Declan Rice and a proper good duo in that regard. Up front, clearly a winger, a striker, etc. Nypan plays for my hometown team. Believe me, he ain't it. Damn. Never been convinced by Vlahovic, but I can appreciate that he's the closest to complete striker Arteta wants, if we exclude Isaac. Is he though? I hear it because Sesko's a bit younger, he's a bit rawer. I don't think Arsenal want Gyökeres. I could be wrong. I just think that's a tabloid thing, but I'd argue he's more complete. I think Vlahovic is more of a bully. Like, I do think what goes against Vlahovic is he's not aesthetically pleasing. Like, he's quite, obviously he's, to us normal people, he's fast and all of that stuff, but he does appear quite slow, a bit heavy-footed, not the best on the eye. Obviously does strike me as a striker that can make his own goals, but service reliant. And there's a lot that we need to do from a coaching front as well, because we could do a lot more from open play. I don't believe Partey and Jorginho should be kept at all, honestly. Depends. If I had to keep one, I'd keep Partey because of the form, but then I could understand if they want to keep Jorginho. He's transitioning into being a coach and all of that stuff. On some real thing, when are we going to see Neto win the goals? I don't know. Maybe, if we've won the league by the end of the season, or it's wrapped up by then, then yeah, FA Cup, you're a myth, and we're out of that now. League Cup, you're cup tied. I wouldn't be dropping Raya anytime soon. So yeah, I don't know for now. Partey is on high wages, and that's why I think the club will clear ranks, really, because I think Partey, obviously, I don't care how much you get paid if you're doing your job. Arguably, Partey's been one of our players of the season, right? But as I said earlier, Saka, Gabriel, Big Gabriel, and Saliba all need to be given new deals. You'd imagine Ethan and Lewis Skelly, it's not going to break the bank, but they're going to get new deals. Obviously, if you're bringing in Zubimendi, you're giving him something, maybe not the highest of wage, but you're giving him something decent. And you're also giving whatever this winger and striker is something decent. It's a chance to kind of clear ranks. Tini's on like 80, 90, 100K. Nelson's on something like that. What's his name? Zinchenko's got 2 years left on his deal. Assuming he's moved on, you free up that. Somebody's mentioned Partey and Jorginho, you free up that. Obviously, if you deal with the Fabio Vieiras and guys like that who, on the face of it, they're not breaking the bank with their weekly wages, but every little helps kind of thing. So, yeah, man, there's a lot to do. I'll be real. There's a lot to do, because for me, I'd say if you was to name Arsenal's strongest 11, whatever you want, I think there's a case of a striker, a left winger. I would say an 8 for me, but if Declan Rice is going to continue to be 8, you're going to bring Zubimendi and cool, you've got the midfield, right? Then I think it's about supplementing the squad. I don't think we have enough bodies. We need to get a couple of goalies in second and third choice. I wouldn't be against another Timber, Tomiyasu, versatile kind of defender, if that makes sense. And then it's about the bodies. Thank the Lord, Lewis Skelly and Ethan's emergence by default. Now we've got a bigger squad per se, but our squad is not the biggest. I don't think Arteta wants a big squad. I don't necessarily want a 20 plus man squad, but I think there's about 13 players. Can we get that higher, if that makes sense? And then naturally, if you was to improve the front three, Kai Havertz becomes a squad player, Trossard becomes a squad player, Martinelli becomes a squad player, and we keep it moving. Vlahovic has good attributes, honestly. Gyökeres not more complete than him, but he does have a better shot, and his touch is less baggy just by a bit, though. I strongly disagree. I think Gyökeres works the channels better. I think he drops deep better. I think his hold-up plays better. I think his variety in goals. I've seen him score headers, tap-ins, bangers, free kicks. I think he's a lot more complete, if I'm honest with you. I think Gyökeres affects the game a lot more when you're not necessarily doing the traditional striker stuff, but I'm not going to turn up my nose. Vlahovic wouldn't be my first choice, but I'm not going to turn up my nose to Vlahovic, to Gyökeres. I know we're not getting Isaac people, but I'm just going to keep saying it. If there is small hope that the footballing gods bless us, I wouldn't be against John Duran. But then after that, I couldn't sit here and tell you bare strikers' names. You know, we've known we've needed a striker for the last couple of years, really. So I hope we've done our due diligence. You know, do you start? I'm not necessarily the biggest Osimhen fan. I definitely wouldn't turn up my nose to him. But do you start to think about Osimhen, really? I think we're more likely to get a winger than a striker this January, but we do need either or. Let's see everything Mikel Arteta said here. Obviously, nobody big up Haaland for getting a 10-year contract at City, but that does nothing for us as Arsenal fans. You've got an Arsenal manager there, and you could ask him bare questions, and you're asking him about Haaland, bro. Some of these journalists are dickheads. But anyways, on injured players, we have a few decisions to make this afternoon with the medical staff to understand whether they are in the best condition for this game or the next one. So we'll decide that. Now, once again, the ITKs are saying Benjamin White's back in training. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that means he's going to be available tomorrow, right? Calafiori 1 minute. Arteta's being a bit coy on that. So I thought of them players initially. I don't know where Tomiyasu is. It'd be a pleasant surprise when he's back. And there might be some injuries and whatnot we don't know about. Why are none of you, man, reporting on the news around my client, Jonathan David? Hey, listen, boy, talk to me, man. Just let me cut a little percentage off that. What have we been linked with Jonathan David again? Leo said they're not letting him go. So for me, I'm not against signing Jonathan David, letting him be in the squad and having another striker. But I think it's unrealistic for me to think Arsenal are going to get the curtain raiser striker, somebody that would be part of the squad. And you've got Kai Havertz there. I don't think it's feasible. And another left winger. I don't think it's feasible, man. On whether any of the long-term injury casualties are close, not so far. Now, the positive about that is Arteta's shown he will lie about players' fitness, but Saka, Ethan, Benjamin White, Tomiyasu, I think none of us will be surprised. We'd all love to, but none of us will be surprised if they're not in the match they squad tomorrow. Obviously, you know, we beat Spurs, impact, all of that stuff. On whether we have to be perfect for the rest of the season to win the title, I believe so. We are going to try to be as good as we can to possibly be tomorrow night. That's the objective. They're a really good side. That's why they beat us last season and proved as well when we played at Villa Park that they are very difficult opponents. So we'll prepare in the best way to win, which I think we need to, man, because the last couple of times against Villa, it's been a myth. You know, the first game at Villa Park last season, couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. I don't think we managed the game better, well at the Emirates last year. Many people remember the second half. First half, we should have been, I would normally say 1 or 2-0 up. We should have been 3-4. Let's be honest, we got away with one at their place. We stunk up the place. Obviously, we patterned up in the second half. We ran away with it. We need to be good tomorrow because, yeah, it's nice to beat Spurs. We should be thumping up Spurs. They're not good. Like, they're really bad, really. And when I get beyond the euphoria of beating Spurs and bantering my friends, etc., really and truly, we were good. I definitely feel there was a bit more of a positive energy with how we're playing. We looked a lot more pleasing aesthetically in terms of how we're attacking. Obviously, we got the 3 points. Lovely to score a goal from open play, let alone be corner boys from set pieces. But then when you break it down, I'm being very harsh. I think the goal we conceded was on brand with the Brighton one, the Fulham one. We turned it around, but Brentford in that. Teams are having one chance. Like, we're dominating. We got them camped in their half, but again, one chance and bagging. So we need to be better against Villa. And we're at home. On whether we can challenge for the title without new signings. At the moment, we don't have them. We are trying to find the best possible solution, but we'll have to wait and see. On the profile, already went over that, people. We've already gone over the contracts, but if you're just tuning in, we have certain situations with contracts expiring. We can renew those contracts like we've done in the past. We are always actively evolving the squad and understanding what the players want to do when they finish our contract together, and we have to be prepared on getting his players up for every match, not just derbies. I'm not going to waste time with that because I do think Arteta does a good job of that. And I do think the players, like, realistically, if you're not on being up for every game in the Premier League, come out the club. So I can criticize how we've gone about things and things of that ilk, but yeah, you get the point. On if they're thriving on the pressure of chasing down Liverpool. I think so. If you want to be fighting for top trophies with the top teams for 11 months, like we've been doing the last 2.5 years now, you have to enjoy those kind of moments, circumstances, or challenges, and the extra pressure that comes with it because it's the beauty of it. We're trying to win, and that's exactly what we want. On whether he wants his players to be feeling the pressure, I think the pressure comes from within. Pressure makes diamonds. If there's no pressure on you in your life, you're an idiot, if I'm honest. Nobody can put pressure on you. I think it's the wrong way. And if that's the case, it's because you're probably not doing or preparing the right way. I think you have to thrive to be the best, and you can possibly can. And there's no more pressure than that, in my opinion, when you have these daily commitments with yourself to achieve that, which is true. We all know Aston Villa are amazing and they're doing their thing. On saying we are the best team without winning a title. In that case, I refer to statistics. We're on banner. When you look at all the statistics that are relevant to do that, that's what the statistics read. The reality is we weren't because someone else won the title. So that's something. There's a margin there and we still need to improve on and be better, which is true. Big up the new women's coach. Nobody cares about the 10-year stuff, people. Is there anything else? We know we love set pieces. On what the challenges he sets to the long-term injured players, just get back fit. On managing Timber, it's unbelievable what he's done, especially because he's done it on the right. He's done it as a left fullback, and we're putting huge demands on him. That's the thing. When the squad is short and you have quite a lot of injuries like we had, you start to load more on the players, which is not ideal. Which I must admit, manager, I'm not blaming Arteta. I'm not even blaming the Cronkies. I'm not even blaming Edu. All of you work for Arsenal. All of you work in the professional game. I think you're all too smart enough to know that this is not good and we shouldn't be in a situation, a scenario like that. On whether Mikel was involved in changing Lewis Skelly to a left back, well, obviously. But anyways, when I saw him to give him a chance with the project that we had in the academy, the moment that I saw him, the only way I could think was to change his position. I do think he'll get a crack in midfield, but realistically, there's several players in front of him at the moment. Big up Lewis Skelly. Even the way, on talking about pressure, the way he was saying, I'm not scared of no one. I want to be the best. I have to play against the best. Like, for an 18-year-old who's been in the first team 2 minutes, and with what we faced this season, Ethan as well, Lewis Skelly, I wish everyone behaved and conducted themselves like you. Lewis Skelly, big up yourself, man. Can't speak higher enough of that young man. All I can say is, as a fan, it's a pleasure to have you at the club, and you're a testament to not only this football club, but your family. Arsenal, give the man 50 grand a week, man. And if I wish I was his agent, I'd be getting paid. I know that much. The only way I could think was to change his position. I spoke to him and I said, I think this is where you're going to have it, because I think it fits a lot of his qualities, the way that we play, and it fits because we have necessities in that position. We got bare left backs, but then we've also got none at the moment. And the way Lewis Skelly's playing, and obviously Calafiori's injury, naturally everyone's a genius in hindsight. You're going to say that. You're going to say this, and I'd love to know you lot's thoughts. Should we have signed Calafiori? I believe we should have, but mind games. Yeah. And at the end of the day, Lewis Skelly, you got to play wherever the gaffer tells you. And I'm sure Lewis Skelly's on that. It's like Saka. I very much doubt in his heart Saka wanted to play left back, but you play, you get games. When you solidify yourself and the penny drops, then you might be able to say, gaffer, no, I'm happy to play left back, but I'm a right winger. Just give me a chance. You get it, people. And even Kai, I don't even know if Kai Havertz likes to play up front, but you're up there, innit? And the way we play, and it fits because we had necessities in the position. So we start to work on that. He got into it straight away with the personality that he has. I think it's very obvious, and now he's doing it. Obviously, he's progressed a lot, and he's only 18. So there's a lot of physical development he needs to do, people. On whether it's changed from want to need in the transfer market. The word you mean? Well, obviously, we have more necessity now because of what's happened in the last few weeks. That's obvious. That sounds a bit like Arteta's peed off now, isn't it? On how difficult it is to work in the market when everyone knows we need a forward. I think it's more of a question for Jason Ito. I don't know, but I think we have to do what we think is right and what we can do as well. That's it. And it's clear that we'd like to improve the squad, especially with what happened. Can we do it or not? It depends on a lot of factors. On whether Lewis Skelly could get called up by England, I'd be amazed if you don't get England 21s called up in the next international break. Let him settle where he is first and talk about the reality, what he's got in front of him. Stick with that. And I think that's more than enough for now, which is true. Naturally, neither Lewis Skelly or Arteta can control the hype. We know how it gets. Everybody's, and you know me, I've been speaking about Lewis Skelly. He's an amazing player. He's doing his thing, but you know how life is. 1 minute, he's the next Ashley Cole. They're doing all of this. When he has that inevitable game or period where he struggles, as all young players, we've seen it many a time. You know exactly what's going on. On whether the title is a two-horse race, I don't think so. I think when you look at every team in the Premier League and the margins and how the teams are winning football matches, it can go either way. So there are 2 or 3 ways you can be talking about something very differently. We're still in January. It's going to be a long, long run. So, yeah, and we know the atmosphere against Spurs is going to be good anyway. So I'm not going to waste you lot's time or energy even getting into that. Now, whoa, what's going on here? This was the original article, but it's behind the paywall. Don't worry, folks. We found a way around it. Arsenal look to beat rivals to exciting Norwegian talent. Now, I mean, if Odegaard, is he good? Can we find the next Norwegian Haaland as well while we're there? But anyways, people, the creative midfielder has been compared to Martin Odegaard and is represented by Erling Haaland's agent. Arsenal are among the clubs interested in signing Norwegian teenager Sverre Nypan. Forgive me for mispronunciations. Apparently, he is a prestigious 18-year-old midfielder who has already made more than 50 appearances for Rosenborg in the Norwegian top flight and is regarded as one of the most talented young players in Europe. As you know, we've been linked with him before. David Ornstein has name dropped him. Reports in Norway have suggested that a decision on Nypan's future will be made in coming weeks. Arsenal are believed to be one of many interested clubs, with TV2 in Norway claiming that Manchester City are also looking at him. Rosenborg are reportedly wanting around 10 million for him, who has drawn comparisons to Martin Odegaard. As you know, he's represented by the same agent of Haaland. So we'll have to see, and we all know we don't know what's going to be done with Partey and Jorginho, but on paper, they're departing people. Ethan's done his thing. Fabio Vieira is one of those forgotten men. And simultaneously, reports this week have said we're going to go get Zubimendi. Big up yourself, Kay. I'm really of the belief that we need Jonathan David. Perhaps I'm wrong, but we'll miss never signing him. I'm so sick of us always being a club that takes so long to do deals. Granted, it's January. We all know, including the board, we are desperate for a striker and have been for so long and a winger. I agree. The only thing I would say is we don't know what they're doing in the back burners. Now, necessarily, am I filled with hope? It's the 17th of January. I think they need to sign someone. I think it's a bit naive that Gabriel Jesus' injury has forced their hand even more, because even if everyone's fit, we still need something. I don't think we can afford to leave this market and not have someone. And I do believe we will sign someone. Whether that player is good enough, whether that's a level raiser, whether we're happy, these are all questions I can't answer. City get linked to a player within a few days, it's all done. Same with other clubs we see. Us, it's always we'll wait and see, and some fluffing about with the fees. January, you just have to pay the extra money. I hear you. It's good that we signed Calla. It's not good that we kept all the other left backs we had. Someone had to go. I'm cool with Calafiori, and I'm not saying he's going to be the biggest and baddest, but everyone was gassing him up during the Euros. Everyone gassed him up initially, and now people are turning on him. Like, I'm not saying he's going to be like Gabriel Magalhaes, but Gabriel Magalhaes at 22 was a bit like Calafiori. I'm cool with Calafiori. I actually wanted another left back, but he's going to have to stay fit, really. For me, with the left back stuff, I hear you, man. You'd imagine Zini, Kivior, Tomiyasu, because of the injuries. Tierney's only here because he got injured in the summer. People need to go. And obviously, Lewis Skelly's emergence has helped us greatly in that regards, man. So, yeah, that's that. We need to go back to the start, people. Ornstein has been speaking. He said they've been linked with Vlahovic. My latest information is that it's not looking like one that Arsenal are going to pursue, but let's see how things go in the couple of weeks ahead with the number of options I'm sure they have. They like Benjamin Sesko historically. I don't expect him to move in this window. The real apple of their eye is Alexander Isak, certainly for Mikel Arteta, but we know how difficult that will be if possible. I'm more likely to go on a date with Kelly Rowland than we are to get Isak in it, but you know, and I definitely hope that's the case. But yeah, and it's annoying because there's still some positives around our club. Only one side is still unbeaten at home in the Premier League this season, and that's us, people. Like, that's us. I don't look at the league table, but allegedly we've got 43 points. Liverpool have 47. Granted, they have a game in hand. I think it's improbable, but it's not impossible. And you just got to win your games in it and hope Liverpool continue to slip up. I think Liverpool are winning the title, but I hope I'm wrong. It's been 630 days since we lost a Premier League game against the Big Six, which shows that there's a good platform for us to need to get over the line. You know me, I don't care about XG in it, but we've got the joint fewest XG per shot conceded, second fewest shots on target, fewest XG conceded, fewest goals conceded. Now, flip that and show us how many points we dropped from winning positions and show us our attacking stats with these same metrics. My point being, it's a mixed bag. There's reasons to be optimistic. There's reason to be negative. And depending on how you want to provide your copium, that we'll see, that's where you be. Arsenal's to bid for Gyökeres. I wouldn't hold your breath. We had to get Calafiori. You, man, still want Kivior around. I'm cool with Calafiori. I can understand if Arteta had a limited budget, you signed another left back, you signed Moreno. I think Moreno's cool for the squad. I think Calafiori will show his quality. You know, he won't be the first nor the last player that is written off a couple of months into his Arsenal career. People done the same with Odegaard. They've done the same to a degree with Gabriel. I'm not saying everyone's going to go on an upward trajectory, but we know how it gets. I'm cool with it. I'll be real. Arsenal fans are consistent in all the issues we have, yeah? But once we get past the obvious, we start talking about Declan Rice, we start talking about Calafiori. I'm not saying we can't talk about anything or you lot can't talk about anything. I just think there's a bunch of problems before you look at those two. But anywho, people, moving on. What else we got? Martin Odegaard created 14 chances across his last 2 appearances for Arsenal versus Spurs and United, as many as all of his teammates combined. Still not putting the ball in the back of the net, though, man. And again, mixed bag. And you look at the stats when you've got Odegaard and Saka to have, well, not to have Saka. Like, how much is that going to kill Odegaard now and kill us, anyways? It's sad. It was, do you know what? It was so sad for me on TV watching the North London derby and seeing Bukayo Saka on crutches, man. I wanted to cry. You would have seen this week, allegedly, Arsenal want to sign a striker and are chasing Juventus's Vlahovic, Sporting Lisbon's Victor Gyökeres, and Leipzig's Benjamin Sesko. Apparently, the Leipzig manager, Marco Reus, said, people, on a potential exit in January. That's not the case, not a topic for us, people. So we've seen David Ornstein, the manager at Leipzig, pour cold water on it. And if you needed anything more to kill your optimism, his agent has spoken and said, even if we're aware of interest from several top clubs for a long time, if you ask me if Sesko will move in January, I can only say Sesko is a Leipzig player and they can answer these questions. So he hasn't said yes, he hasn't said no. He's a bit of mind games, really and truly. Again, people, his agent has offered thoughts and he said, I don't know where this story has come from, but I've never talked with Arsenal about a loan move for Sesko. Sesko is not a player for loans, and this is never a topic with Arsenal or any other club. To be fair, unless it's a loan with an obligation to buy, I don't think Arsenal are going to rock up and do that. If you ask me if Sesko will move in January, I can only say Sesko is an RB Leipzig player. I'm fully focused on that. He then said Leipzig are the right people to ask these kind of questions, and a move has been described as unlikely in January, people. So I think we're more likely to get a winger than a striker. Anyways, I think the striker team will get parked off in the summer. Going back to the Norwegian lad, people, smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't. David Ornstein's chimed in. He said, I know I reported recently Nypan from Rosenborg, one of the top young midfielders from what I've heard across the game. He'd be very keen on a move to Arsenal. They like him. Would he want assurances around first team football? I mean, 10 million. If he develops and becomes anything like Odegaard, great. If he becomes good but not quite the guy, then 10 million, if you can turn that to 50, keep it moving, innit, really and truly. I do think we need to kind of get in that, really, if I'm honest with you. And again, everyone on their nan is saying that Arsenal, City, United, some reports say Leipzig, Dortmund, and AC Milan. I mean, a 17-year-old that's played, 17, 18-year-old that's played 50 times for any first team with a 10 million asking price. Everyone's going to kind of be interested to see what they could do. Romano has said Tierney is close to joining Celtic. It's still unclear if he'll move in January, which I think is improbable because he's actually a left wing option right now. Probably a pre-agreement for the summer, people. So we'll have to see. In relation to another left back in Zinchenko, Adama Chef of Sky Sports has chimed in. As we know, he's been linked with a bunch of clubs, their latest being Borussia Dortmund. This is an interesting one. Hasn't really featured. He's only started 2 Premier League games for Arsenal so far this season. I wouldn't be surprised if the left back area is another one that Arsenal will look into because Tierney as well looks like he'll be on his way out. They're not going to exercise the 1-year option in his contract. Zinchenko, Dortmund are interested. Arsenal actually don't actually want, in an ideal scenario, any outgoings this transfer window unless they bring in players. They don't want to be left short, so it's squad size as well as quality as well. But Zinchenko is in the final 18 months of his contract now. If a good offer was to come in, I'm told that Arsenal would look at it and make a decision on Zinchenko. So I think that's definitely one to watch this window, particularly because Arsenal will be well aware that they've got a situation with Tierney where unless he goes on loan, they're not going to make any money on him. When you deep it, I could be wrong, excluding Kivior, in fact, who can play left back. Everyone that can play left back for Arsenal Football Club has had an injury this season. They have that, right? Lewis Skelly's had a knock. I think he missed like 2 weeks, but he had a knock. Calafiori's in, out the squad. Tierney's obviously had a knock. Zinni's had a knock. Tomiyasu's a no-show. Timber, owing to the ACL, we have to be cute and clever. I don't know if I said Calafiori, but Calafiori. Wait, how many men can play left back at this club on paper, whether they're going to play or not? Wait. You could force it and say Saka, even though we don't want to go there. But, we actually got a lot of people who can play left back. Zinchenko, Timber, Lewis Skelly, Calafiori, Kivior, Tomiyasu. I missed someone. There's like 6, 7 in it. Crazy. Yeah, in the summer, you need to cut Zini, man. It's cool, though, man. It's cool. What is this? In relation to Gyökeres, Man United are hopeful of holding off competition for Gyökeres to secure a deal in the summer. Arsenal are understood to have raised the striker in discussions over a badly needed forward signing for January, having brought forward plans from the summer after the ACL suffered by Jesus. Needed one anyways. But anyways, Arteta this week admitted they're looking. Gyökeres has been raised along with options such as Leipzig's Benjamin Sesko, Evan Ferguson. Arsenal have not seriously pursued PSG's Randall Kolo Punani. But anyways, people, he's going Juventus anyways. Gyökeres' form for Sporting has seen him outstrip many other strikers as a target for Europe's top clubs. The situation particularly facilitated by a release clause of under 100 million. Man United can't afford that this window. I reckon he rocks up at United. They need a striker. Højlund is far too raw. Zertsky seems more of a creator kind of guy, man. Been telling you we have too many left backs. We do. I mean, everyone can see that, but I wouldn't sell all of them. I wouldn't sell all of them. I would say Lewis Skelly, definitely not. It's more of an option to play Timber there if worse comes to worse. Calafiori, you're good. Tommy, like, I'll always fight Tommy Yasu's case. I can understand if the club and you lot, and even myself, you know what, the injuries are enough now. So, yeah. Teeny, I like you, but your days are numbered, isn't it? Really and truly, it is what it is in that regard. Once again, we know the Sesko thing is not happening, people. But once again, at the time of recording this, my information is that there are no talks between Arsenal and Leipzig for Sesko. He's not expected to move in this window. Arsenal do have a long-standing interest in him. He's high on their recruitment list, but the same is true for United and Chelsea. So Leipzig, his agent, and Sesko, they know there's going to be interest in him, people. Arsenal explored in the past, then he signed a new contract. He's really important to Leipzig at the moment. They're fighting for better results in the Bundesliga. They need him, and he's their best player. They're under no financial pressure to sell him. Never say never in this industry, because you don't know what will happen 1 minute to the next. If a club comes in with an offer which is too good to refuse, that's not happened so far. Leipzig don't have any intention of selling him. The word that is coming back is no chance from there. Their fans will go crazy if Leipzig sold him at the moment, from what I hear. Plus, he signed a new contract because he wants to develop there for the time being. So I don't think a mid-season move is on his agenda either. Let's see what happens more towards the summer. But that's just my information right now. So you can live in hope if you want, but I think you lot are far too intelligent for that. I could be wrong. I think we're more likely to see a winger, and then we continue talking about a striker in the summer. I'm not going to waste you lot's time with Vlahovic, people. We've been linked with him. To be honest, he's one that I'm tired of speaking about. Real Madrid are still linked with William Saliba for what it's worth, and we know one day he's going to go. We were linked with Yeremy Hernandez from Deportivo. It seems like Napoli are getting involved in that one. This article has said Arsenal have actually moved one step closer to signing Gyökeres, and apparently we've softened our stance on our willingness to pay his release clause. I have covered that this week, so check out the previous content. Allegedly, Arsenal have agreed personal terms and a huge wage increase with 25-year-old Real Sociedad midfielder Martin Zubimendi. Anyone want Gittins from Dortmund? I wouldn't be against it, people, but Bayern Munich apparently are interested, and apparently they're in contact with the management of the player. Dortmund would want over 100 million euros for the Englishman, but Bayern have no intention of paying close to that should they fail to qualify for the Champions League. Dortmund would be under pressure to sell for less. And I was watching the video, yeah, when you deep it, Dortmund are becoming a lot less like Dortmund. They're becoming more like Bayern. Leipzig are becoming Dortmund, as in getting in players and sell people. Dortmund are becoming a bit like Bayern. It's quite interesting what's going on. And, you know, similar to Arsenal, you know, they brought in Nuri Sahin, who's got an attachment to that club. And there's a lot of people making decisions in the boardroom. It's kind of a mess. And also Dortmund are, like Leipzig, struggling in the table at the moment. I must admit, I wish Arsenal was in the conversation from Marmoush, but he's ending up at City. City fans, it's great, isn't it? Their players are writing off this season. Clearly, you know, they've committed the future of Pep, of Haaland. They're bringing in Marmoush and a bunch of other players. City are getting ready to hit back. So, yeah, man, I wouldn't be against Gittins, but from there saying 100 mil, it's safe to say forget that. Karim Adeyemi would make me pull my hair out, but if Chelsea are looking at him, could we get involved? Apparently, Chelsea are looking at Garnacho as well. What's going on there? Once again, Real Madrid love Saliba. We all love Saliba. And yeah, Chelsea have got involved in Garnacho and Gittins. Do you think we'll get involved in Garnacho? I've seen weirder things. I've seen much weirder things. I wouldn't even say I'm necessarily against it. People, you like acting, smash the like button. When will we ever act serious? And a club that's in touching distance to win trophies again, whoever is the main choice, just go for it up front and end all this rumor rubbish we're clinging on to. Zini and Kivior have to go. Replace Kivior with Hato. If Tommy gets moved on, then we sign another swing defender. bro, this month, the longer we wait, the more effed we are, bro. Just bring someone in. I'm with you, lot. Like, listen, we could talk about summer to a blue in the face, and you can see my skin color. We'll be here all day. I need players. I need something in January because I think we've got a tiny squad. Form and the ability and competency is one thing, but the more these players have to play, the more they're likely to get injured. And I don't think it's sustainable. Jason is the problem. Jason Ito. I mean, if he's the problem, you know, with what we're talking about, what we need to do this month, what is on the agenda in terms of incomings and outgoings in the summer, if he's in a position to make these things happen, it's from those above. Too many left backs, but still have had to play an academy player there. Is what it is. And shout out Lewis Skelly and Ethan, because 9 times out of 10, you do see young players get opportunities as a result of injuries. Take your chances, which they have. If Arteta doesn't sign a striker this month, I'm turning to Arteta out. There's a few strikers with buyout clauses. I don't think we're going to... I could be wrong. I think they're going to park off the striker thing to the summer, whether that is Vlahovic, Sesko, is that whatever. I think they're more likely to find... I think they're more likely to go for a wide man. I ain't got all the answers, yeah? But it does feel like you can afford to gamble a bit more with the wide options, or there's a bit more of a variety where the wide options are. The strikers, you're not getting his that. They've poured cold water over the Sesko thing. Gyökeres, even if you activate his release clause, that has to assume he even wants to move mid-season. You can forget about John Duran. Beyond that, who else we've been linked with? Vlahovic, maybe, but it all depends how much are they convinced on him to the point where they'll say, you know what, we like Gyökeres, we like his act, we like Sesko, we're going to try and get him in the summer. We're going to do this in Jan. I think the wide man thing is there, really. And then obviously, we're still clearly in talks with Trossard over a new deal. So I have to see. I hate how City have gone in and just bought 3 guys and we ain't done ish. We're not City, unfortunately. When agents are talking, that's bad sign. Players that move, you don't hear jack from their agent. Sesko and his agent are trouble move from them. Bit harsh. Like, they've asked him to speak. Bro, dead all this Sesko thing, all this agent talking business is bad. Just drop it. When man are going to move, no one's talking. I agree with that. Been this guy and his agent. When man move, agents don't talk. To be fair, they drew him out and asked him for an interview. But you're all right. Feels as if as long as we get top 4 owners are satisfied. I think that's the case. I think I can criticize Arteta's way about going about things, but I think him and the players want to win trophies. I think those above them, then as long as you get top 4, they're cool with that. Once you start dropping out at top 4 and the money starts looking mad, crazy. At least you won't be seeing Havertz in midfield anytime soon. One guy up top for the rest of the season is kind of crazy. Never say never, man. Never say never. We wasted a lot of good talents from the academy. Still on that, Arteta is learning now why not to do that. I must admit, I think a lot of people gas up a lot of these academy footballers, and this is coming from me, who's always waffling about academy footballers. I think a lot of people don't even watch them. I feel a lot of the guys that didn't make it here were not good enough, or it just wasn't going to happen, or they needed to go elsewhere. Equally, I do agree, though, there's been a couple of fumbled ones. It is what it is, man. It is what it is, man. Like, we just have to, let's just hope we beat Aston Villa tomorrow. Let's just hope that we sign an attacking player, people. We can only live in hope, somewhat blind hope. And then most importantly, deal with the reality. I'm just aware that in 7 minutes, I'm going to be on Rancy's show, people. So yeah, appreciative to you lot being here with me. Also, those of you that were here like an hour or so ago where we was there with Dan. As you know, people, turn on your notification bells. If you're on Spotify and all the audio platforms, check out the pin message to the chat, because obviously I'd appreciate if you follow on the audio platform. I'm doing it for you lot. I hear better if you say, oh, I'm in the gym, I'm driving, I'm doing all of this, then you have that. So yeah, man, make sure you're following on all the platforms and that. Most importantly, I hope you're having a great Friday and whatnot. Watch Along Business tomorrow. There's always videos, so turn on your notification bells. On that note, though, if we are pressed for options and we are getting rid of people at left back, I know he can replace Zinni.
Against this right back, Charlie's definitely.